There's Brady. Exactly the way I imagine Brady Quinn, right in front of an American flag. Yes.
Is this what it looks like? Yeah.
Well, it's an American flag. It's right behind you.
It is. It is. It is. Very strategic placement on my part. Jess, what's up? Didn't know you were going to be on this.
I know. Surprise, surprise. How are you?
Thank you. It's always good to see you. I know you're excited after last week.
I'm so excited. I heard you're back in Ohio now.
Yeah, we moved back up the end of last summer. Obviously had our 5th in January. So it was just easier to be around more family. And quite frankly, with the way Big Noon's been, I'd probably get back 30 days.
Oh, wow.
25 days a year now because of the travel. Like I can leave Friday, come back Saturday.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so it's been big.
Congrats.
Did you say you're 5th?
Yeah, we just had a boy in January. So he's just now starting to try to crawl, doing the whole backwards thing before they kind of go forwards, and then they eventually start walking. So
he's got an Irish name, Stugotz.
No, I understand that, but 5 kids is fucking crazy. I mean, with his schedule, doing a morning show, I mean, he's a superstar. Like, Brady, what are you doing, man? Slow down.
We have fun, you know. We want to have a big family, right? Like, there's nothing better. Once you have one, like the next one comes, and you're like, this one's a completely different soul and just, you know, different personality, and you just love all of it. So I would have kept going. Obviously, my wife had other plans, so she's like, I'm good at 5. I was like, all right, we'll stop there.
We started, just so we're clear. 2 Pros and a Cup of Joe is his radio show alongside Lavar Arrington, who was on this show a couple of weeks ago with us. Is there a single sport that you can beat Lavar Arrington in, Brady Quinn?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, because he thinks he's the best athlete of all time. Like he does, right?
Would crush him in golf.
Yes.
I'll start there if you consider that a sport. He's not moving as well these days. Okay. So
Ouch.
I don't know. I feel like I'm kind of confident in my one-on-one ability. Size-wise, like there's not that big of a mismatch. Also, this is great. We're in Columbus, and we're doing it's before Ohio State, Penn State game, probably 2 years ago, maybe. It would have been 2 years ago because it was in Columbus. And he's walking in limping. And he's, throughout the show, explaining to us the symptoms that he's got because he thinks he like rolled his ankle. And I finally turned to him, I go, dude, you have gout. He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, you've got gout. Like you need to go get medication for this.
Right.
And I swear to God, he is on like those one-legged like wheelchair things.
Oh no.
And, like the gout pain is so bad, which I will say this. I've got a really close friend and buddy who's got gout. I've watched that dude walk 18 holes battling through gout. I know it's painful, but he seemed to be apparently a little tougher than Lavar was with this. So finally, Lavar gets diagnosed. He's like, yeah, it was gout. And he's on this medication, and he's fine now. So my strategy would be before any sport, just take away his medication. And I know he would fall apart because I've witnessed it before. I'd feed him a bunch of red wine, a big steak, and it'd be over. It'd be a wrap.
That's a little
Take away the meds, right?
Hey, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying, you know? Right. And we just saw Southern Cal. Like, what happened to them when they don't cheat? You know, they have a hard time winning.
Okay,
Yes.
I'm glad you brought this up first because I think the first time I ever met you, I made a comment along the lines of, I can't believe you work with Matt Leinart. I wouldn't be able to face him day to day. And you were like, why? And I was like, because he ruined my childhood. And you were like, you gave like a very professional response. And you said like, you know, it's not that serious. Like we're friends. It's cool. Like whatever. And I sort of felt ashamed of my hate in my heart as a Notre Dame fan. But I imagine this past week seeing all the 20-year anniversary of the Bush Push stuff, like you were pissed off to see him on Saturday, right?
It's not fond memories. You know, obviously that game, everything that went on that week was cinematic. Like it really, you could have made just like a short film off of that week. The build up for it, the way campus was, just from the Dylan Pep rally to the Pep rally that it was the first time to my knowledge that had been moved in the stadium because there's so many people there. You know, Joe Montana and John Bon Jovi, like all the celebrities that came in for that game, really on both sides of it. The fact that they were number one, the fact that they were back-to-back national champions, the green jersey switch after our warm-ups, like the grass being higher, you know, getting wetted down, like all the things that played into it. Just Charlie's first year and how he kind of caught fire a little bit, and how much we'd improved from the year before. So it was, you know, I look back on it as such a different moment than I think a lot of people view that that loss as, because for us, when you have a new coach who comes in, there's a lot of things that are said, and like our training camp was tough, and guys are still kind of buying in. And I think that season we started off beating a top 25 team at Pitt. And so once we kind of got that win under our belt, we're like, okay. And we start stacking up some wins, and people are starting to buy in. Like, it's one thing to buy in, or say you buy in training camp. Until you get in the live games, like, you really find out who's buying in, who's not. That game, I think, in particular, when it was at halftime, because I believe we were leading at halftime, everything he had said that week leading up to it was like coming to fruition. So I think you started to see a lot of guys really flip that switch then about just how good we could be and what we were capable of, if we played out and executed the game plan. And look, I mean, honestly, that game came down to, at least offensively, every single thing I could have asked for. And he told me, he's like, the play that you score on is going to be the score that wins the game. And so when I run it in, and I'm like trying to take in the moment, I wasn't sure if I got across the goal line before my knee went down. I'm thinking back to like all the things that were said during the course of the week, and everyone's celebrating. And then I'm like, well, how much time's left? Because the last thing that Charlie said was, we just have to make sure we have the ball last.
Right.
And so when I looked at the clock, I thought, ooh, it was like one of those bittersweet moments of, I know what we're up against. There was just too much time left. And I knew, they were a good team. I mean, they were going to find a way of getting the end zone. And obviously the Bush push is what it is. You can't, it was, but like, you can't rely on the refs, to push you in there. And I've always said, like, if I was the type of quarterback that needed my running back to push me in, I would hope Darius Walker, Travis Thomas, whoever would have pushed me in. I'm not that guy. I could get in on my own, but I wasn't in that circumstance. Like, I was pulling a USC guy in on my rushing attempt.
Yes.
Matt had to have a guy push him in.
Right. Big difference. Yes. No, it's a big difference. You're right. Pulling and pushing is a very big difference, Brady. You're right.
I was pulling a USC guy. It was like the exact opposite. Like, not only could he not get in on his own volition, he needed like someone else to push him in.
Right.
So, but no, it's we've met each other at like where we're at. And we're, obviously our NFL careers didn't go how we would have liked it to. And as we met each other, we're kind of starting this broadcasting career, and our families are growing together. So, in that, even though, again, you have, this kind of rivalry, this hatred or whatever for what we used to be, you also have a lot that you're like commonalities that you're building off of as like just life experience and kind of growing in a profession together.
I think Taylor and I both noticed at the same time. How did this loss have a greater impact on Jess than Brady Quinn? Like, she's more upset about it than you are.
I mean, the hard thing is it obviously had a big impact. Like, I think about like what it would have meant if we would have won that game. We would have played in the national championship game. We would have played against Texas. I was, I think, fourth in the Heisman that year, probably sitting in New York, probably maybe winning it, maybe not. I don't think Reggie wins it if we beat them. Even though Reggie was like the greatest college football player I've ever seen, and that's saying something because Vince Young obviously was second that year, and Vince Young was incredible. So maybe one or the other. But I just kind of look at that and go, yeah, it probably would have looked a little bit different. The narrative around Charlie Weiss could have been a little bit different too, even though we went to back-to-back BCS games and he had won as many games as any coach ever in the first 2 years. Like, there's something to how much that would have changed, I think, the perception for a number of things.
Brady, do you think
I
Lincoln?
I've been a happy 8-year-old, so that's the difference.
Jess, I think you turned out just fine. Right. I think you turned out just great. So
still hanging on to it though.
Yeah.
Brady, do you think Lincoln Riley's legacy at USC is going to wind up being the one that ended that rivalry?
It looks like it's moving in that direction. Now, I just think the rivalry's too big. The brands are too big for there not to be a solution. It's complicated, and it's not complicated from Notre Dame's side. Like, Notre Dame's been independent this entire time. And that's never changed anything with the rivalry. And USC keeps saying, well, now we're a part of the Big Ten, and we travel east more, and there's these difficulties with the time zone and the expense that's involved in this. Like, do we really need another away game that's out in that part of the country, every other year? It's like, well, okay, like, I understand like the frustration behind that, but you made that decision. Like, that was your decision to join the Big Ten, and so you can't penalize like the other team who's been a part of this rivalry for your choice to do so. And on top of that, The truth is, if they were having success versus Notre Dame, like for example, like obviously they had success versus me my entire career there. I would say it's the best era ever of USC football. People can challenge that. I would say you're wrong. But if that was happening now to Notre Dame,
right,
you wouldn't see Notre Dame running away from this rivalry or our coach saying, oh, maybe we shouldn't play Southern Cal anymore. That just wouldn't be the case. And I think if you look at some of the scheduling for Notre Dame as well, they're not afraid of really anyone. I think what they scheduled out Texas in the future, if I'm not mistaken. Obviously, Clemson's a part of that. We've seen others that maybe looking at trying to bring back the Michigan rivalry. Like there's all these other schools that they kind of look at and say, yeah, we want to sign up for that again. So I understand some of what Southern Cal is trying to say, but like you made this problem for yourselves, and this has been a rivalry that's sustained through world wars. Like I think we can also make it through a little bit of a changing landscape in college football.
I also wonder too, and I'm sure there's a way to quantify this, but when USC was part of the Pac-12 and they were playing 9 conference games in like the peak of the Pac-12, like the era that you're talking about where Pete Carroll was the USC head coach, that was a really difficult conference. And Pete Carroll totally owned Notre Dame in that series for those 15-ish years, whatever it was. So I think the argument falls a little flat now when you're arguing like, oh, but we have to play Maryland and Minnesota and travel to the East Coast and Central Time Zone. It's to me, it's not really. I'm not buying that as an excuse.
Well, it's also just like, all right, well, so do other West Coast teams. Like, is that why Oregon lost in Happy Valley? Because they had to travel east and play Penn State and Happy. I mean, like you could go on down the line of like, they're not the only West Coast team that has to deal with this issue. They all made the decision to move. Like, did they not realize what they were getting in bed with or getting into? So there's all those questions you ask yourselves. And again, I don't think Oregon's ducking anyone necessarily either. So to me, it just has to do with who the head coach is. He's who initiated this entire conversation. I will say this, like, I feel like from my initial conversations with Jen Cohen about all this, she has started to change a little bit and side more with Lincoln Riley. I didn't get that sense from her when I initially talked to her that, it was going to get to this point. But, again, you talk to them out in Champaign, Illinois, they feel really confident about their chances of beating Illinois. And even though the score was close and it came down to the final moments, they're kidding themselves. That game wasn't close at all. I mean, Illinois fumbled twice going into the end zone. And so there is still a lot of questions to me about that program in its 4th year under Lincoln Riley, who had his best year with Clay Helton's players, if we're being honest. And outside of that, like, what have they really built? Like, what has he created?
Right.
And I think that's the hard question is they are stuck in this contract with this coach. And so instead of being aware of where they're at and what they aren't, they just avoid the issue together and like, well, let's just not play Notre Dame, a tough game, because we haven't won there since 2011, right? So let's just try to get rid of that altogether and make our schedule a little easier. All right, but to your point, Taylor, I think it sounds like the head coach is then chickening out of a rivalry that he obviously doesn't want to be a part of. And look, there was thoughts that Lincoln Riley didn't want to stay in Oklahoma because he didn't feel like they had built up the infrastructure to compete within the SEC.
Right.
And so he goes to SC to try to find, an easier path, if you will, to the playoff. They haven't gotten to the playoff yet. Didn't win a Pac-12 championship, haven't won a Big Ten championship. And obviously that still may be out there for them in some way or capacity, but it seems unlikely given the rest of their schedule.
I found an ally, Taylor. Lincoln Riley overrated. Most overrated coach in America. He is. Brady Quinn is with us. Penn State or Florida? Which is the better job?
Oh, man, you're going to get me in trouble with Lavar. We actually just talked about
this. Well, that's why I asked it. Yes.
we talked about this on radio the other day, and my answer was Penn State, and it's twofold. I think it's going to be really, really hard for Florida to get back to what they were under Steve Spurrier, to get back to what they were under Urban Meyer in today's climate. Like, I just think that state is as hard as it's ever been to recruit in. Miami has deep pockets in the NIL game. We've witnessed that firsthand. Florida State, obviously, they're not in a great spot. Who knows if they're going to hang on to Mike Norvell after the season's over with. We've heard their AD talk about that decision is kind of pushed off till then. But, they're still going to be very competitive this when it's all said and done, too. So I think from a recruiting aspect, I like kind of where Penn State's at and its ability to recruit these East Coast, PA, Ohio, like whoever you want to talk about up there, and then pick and choose some. I like what Pat Kraft's doing. I think he's throwing everything into this. they moved on from James Franklin because they want to win a national championship. And so I think they're heavily motivated in every capacity to make that happen there. So I just think, I don't want to say they feel more like desperate, but I don't think you move on from a coach like James Franklin who's really built a foundation for your program, took it from what were some dark times. I know Bill O'Brien was there first for a couple of years, but James Franklin really added that consistency, added that level to where we're having the conversation of Penn State being competitive again versus Ohio State. So, I think from that standpoint, it's just, it's not by much, but I would think Penn State right now is the better job. I just feel like for Florida, it feels like there's something off there. I don't know if it's like the institution and, the I don't want to say board of regents and the athletic director, but it feels like there's something off there where there's not like a united front into how they're going to go about solving this.
Yeah, well, to your point, they sort of dragged along Billy Napier while there's been rumors for over a year now that he was going to be let go, which doesn't seem like the thing you would do if you had a buttoned operation.
You fire him after a win too. It's like, all right, like what are we doing here? Like you should just fired him before the season started and moved on then. Like why wait until you beat Mississippi State? Like it felt odd. Like
it was very
like you get a win and it's like, yeah, your coach is gonna be fired. You're like, wait a second, what? Like, all right. I mean, Mississippi State isn't like that bad. I think they're like a 7-point dog this week. Yeah, who did they play this week? I think they're.
I can't remember.
I think they played Georgia or something like that,
yeah,
right?
But they're only like the line's not that big in that game.
Texas.
It's Texas.
Right, it's Texas.
Yeah.
I think it's 7.5. Right.
Yeah, it's not that big of a line. You're like, all right, like
Texas and
well, and based off Texas played last week, like, is it outside the realm of possibility that they lay an egg in Starkville? I don't know.
Definitely not. Good pun though with the egg in Starkville. You're an Ohio person. I'm an Illinois person. We both grew up knowing that Indiana football was and has always been a joke, but now obviously they're a very legit football program. And I've noticed that I've seen a lot of Indiana fans unable to adjust to the narrative now that they're no longer a plucky underdog that everyone's rooting for, and people are actually getting really fed up with them and they're really annoyed with Indiana. So what is your advice to Indiana fans on how to deal with being a football school now and all of the criticism and hate that's going to come with that?
Stu like this. Indiana's the Miami of the Midwest now.
Oh wow,
right?
I do.
I'm just saying. The southernmost school. All right, they're now rocking in football. And guess what? Everyone's peacocking around there in Bloomington. They're gonna let you hear about it, and good for them. Like this is their moment. They've been through so much misery. Why not? And I think the difference there though is how they're building this. Whereas Miami, it's like, all right, can we get back to those 90s, 2000 teams, like where it's like, oh, they're great. They really are back. This feels like there's something that's going to be more longer lasting here with Kurt Signetti. And I don't know if it's the consistency of the staff, that's how he goes about building the program, or even like talent, identifying talent. Like Fernando Mendoza was not one of the top quarterbacks in the portal this past offseason. He was one of the better ones, but I wouldn't say he was at like the top of the list. And whatever you saw from his tape in Cal or at Cal, and identify the fact that like he's a perfect fit for us. Like he's the perfect style of quarterback, style of person, style, everything else. And I think he's done that with a lot of people in a lot of positions. So it feels like this is going to be sustainable. And especially when you've got a guy like Mark Cuban, he's got some deep pockets. I'm going to go out and throw in Sage Steele, get Sage. She's an alum. She needs to get involved there. Try to throw in some NIL money. But they've got enough people, I think, to help support this program and not just be kind of a flash in the pan. But I love it. I love like the Hoosiers, like getting out there and just getting nasty, blasting some John Mellencamp, talking their talk. Like, do it, man, do it. While you got it, like take advantage of this. I mean, that's what a Miami fan would do, would they not?
Of course, yes. And they never attended Miami, which is even better.
I mean, like the game they dropped last week was like, oh, here we go again, just Miami. Yes. Like they get your hopes up, and then I think that's going to be the difference. And I don't know if IU even stumble until probably the Big Ten championship game. That's when we're most likely, given their schedule, that's when we're most likely to find a lot out.
Yeah.
Taylor, put this on the poll. Is Indiana the Miami of the Midwest? Put that on.
Well, I guess now with USC, it wouldn't be the southernmost school anymore. It used to be, at least. Like, I actually took a visit to IU because one of our linebackers at my high school, Adam Cadell, was being recruited. So we went on like a visit, and I think Jerry Donardo was the head coach, but they pitched that. They're like, it's the southernmost Big Ten school. It's like, oh, great. So where's the beach? Like what do we post up here? Like really enjoy the difference in temperature from East Lansing. It's like, what are we doing?
Can you explain to us AJ Hawk? I believe AJ Hawk is married to your sister. Is that correct?
Correct. Yes.
What was he like?
The record straight.
Okay.
He's married to my sister.
Right.
I can't tell you how many times people are like, "Oh yeah, you're married to AJ's sister," and I'm like, AJ doesn't have a sister. He's got 2 brothers, but I just go along with it at this point because I'm like, it takes too long to figure out.
So how much gloating was going on when Ohio State won the national championship?
Not as much as you'd think. Like, I think everyone plays that up. Well, they have 4 kids. We have 5. My little sister has 3.
Wow.
So when we all get together, people have this idea of like, oh, we're all like outside playing backyard football. No, like we're making sure like no one's dying. Like no one's falling off, the trampoline and breaking an arm, or like a baby's not choking. It is like, it's hard to like just look each other in the eye and have like a conversation because you're always counting. You're like, all right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. All right, that's all mine. Age is like, all right,
making sure they're all there.
Where's Vetter? All right. Like, yeah, like you're making sure everyone's,
I know,
again, not killing themselves. So I forget what we did for a bet. I think oh no. I might still owe him a bottle of bourbon. He's a bourbon drinker, but no, I paid it off. I gave him. Okay. He'll drink some bourbon, he'll drink some Crown. So I think I gave him a bottle of that. But it wasn't as much conversation about it. It's not like we get chippy about it. He's proud to be like an Ohio State alum and Buckeye, but he's a unique guy. Like he's a unique cat. Like there's different things that we'll bring up and talk about that you would never imagine. Like got really deep into French drains. He was having a drainage issue at his place. And so he was researching French drains forever. And it came up at one point when I was like up here asking him a question, and we talked for like an hour about French drains. So he doesn't like always say much on Pat's show, but there's a lot of conversation, like some random stuff that he will bring up and bring to it.
The next time I see a meme where he's in like the corner not talking on Pat's show, I'm just gonna imagine him thinking about French drains.
Yes, that's what he's thinking of when he's bobbing his head up and down like that. Yes,
it's that amongst like other things. But I'll say this: his cards, like when it's your birthday or Christmas, he is a dynamic writer of cards.
Really?
He's a wordsmith. He has a way with words.
What?
Yeah, he is hilarious. He's low key one of the funniest people I've ever encountered. Like I could tell stories for days. Like they have this gate.
Go ahead.
That they have this gate at the front of their house, and they were at one point he had like hit it and knocked it off, and it was like fabricated, right? So it wasn't like some sort of like stock you can just go buy it, whatever. Took them a while to finally find someone to come out and fix it, and it just so happened he had to like run out to go grab one of the kids, go to practice or something. And the guy, I swear, is sitting there literally fixing it, finally getting it connected to the track so it will close. And for some reason, as he's hitting it to close, he takes off. And as the gate's starting to close, he rams into the thing again and like ruins it. And it was such a hassle. The guy's like, all right, I'm out. I'm done. Like, I'll send you my bill, but we'll address this another time. But like there's always these like random stories that come up. I mean, our first year golf outing, he put a golf cart in a pond, allegedly. We're bound to somewhat of secrecy on that, but couldn't go back to the course since then. So
right. I'm going to have AJ Hawk on the show with Brady Quinn to tell some of those stories, yeah. Okay? Yes.
We'll see how much he tells. Hopefully he tells them about Chopper, my dad. He's the most entertaining person in our family.
Oh, my God. I mean, I want you on every week, Brady, if we can make this happen. Are you surprised? Put this on the poll, Taylor. Are you surprised that AJ Hawk is a wordsmith? Put that on. I think everyone's going to be shocked. It's going to be unanimous. Go ahead, Jess.
I was going to ask you, Brady, you mentioned Fernando Mendoza. Obviously, CJ Carr is having a really great freshman year for Notre Dame. Are there any quarterbacks that have really surprised you in college football this year as exceeding expectations so far?
Oh, that's a good question. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't sure what to expect for Fernando. So, like, as well as he's playing, through, what he's done so far, he'd be up there. Was curious to see Dante Moore. Obviously, he's played great. Like Dante, Fernando, CJ, and I would have said Beck until last week. And honestly, I thought CJ played, it was his toughest outing yet. Like that was the first time where he looked like a first-year starter, a freshman at quarterback. And I don't know if it was the conditions a little bit with the ball coming out of his hand and some of those throws that were missed. But it's just even some of the decision making, some of that you're like, oh, okay, like that's just chalk that up for like first year starting, still learning some lessons, especially some of these big games, which he'd already played it, obviously, to start off. So that was a bit surprising. I'll tell you this much. I loved what Steve Angeli was doing at Syracuse before he got hurt.
I know.
I know. That was a really tough one. Ty Simpson at Bama, he's put himself in the position right now to be the Heisman favorite. And I, coming into it, I was kind of thinking, okay, he's going like the Mac Jones path. And I knew Mac back when he was in high school, and he was a super competitive kid, really accurate, really smart. But as far as like the mobility, it was a little bit lacking there. Arm strength, some of those things, like it wasn't the same as Trevor Lawrence, who was at that same Under Armour camp that I was at, kind of coaching or whatever. And I was kind of curious to see how like he would be following, in the steps, after Tua, and he did just fine. And Ty Simpson, kind of same thing. Like you're kind of curious what this would look like after Jalen Milroe. And he stepped in, played extremely confident. You could make the case as carrying Alabama offensively. The run game's kind of been inconsistent and making some throws, making some plays. So he's one that like really kind of emerged for me. Outside of him, I'd say Sam Levitt's even having, obviously he's got some injuries, but like even a better year than I thought he was last year. Like I thought he's played pretty well this year too. Mateer was, I would say, somewhat of a little bit of surprise. He's like as hot of a start as he got out to. And I know it's, calmed down a bit since the injury, but he looked good last year, but you never know how a guy's going to transition. I think what's impressed me most is really the freshmen, like the true freshmen, like Bear Bachmeier. We were out there in Provo last week. For a true freshman, like a guy who got there during camp, like old school, not enrolling early, not a red shirt where you're there for a year, like a true freshman to do what he's doing. They're undefeated. I mean, making plays too to beat Utah to win that game. Like he's been impressive. The kid at Cal's been impressive. I've been more floored by some of these true freshman quarterbacks who are coming in like it's nothing. I mean, Malik Washington at Maryland. Like this is, I can't explain to people. This is really, really hard to do what they're doing right now. So that's been the most surprising thing to me.
Taylor also put this on the poll. Are you surprised AJ Hawk is great with a birthday card? Brady Quinn is with us. I'm really enjoying this conversation. This is the part you're probably not going to enjoy. We bring it up to Mike Golick Sr. every single week on the show. The idea that Marcus Freeman might not be the Notre Dame head coach next year because he might take one of these positions. Look, he's already shaking me off.
I love the eye roll.
Like, we can't even go down this road with you guys. What is the problem?
Because it just doesn't make any sense, right? Like, let's just play out the scenarios. Like if you have to ask yourself, like, is Penn State or Florida a better job? All right, is Notre Dame a better job than Penn State and Florida? I don't think it's even close.
Right.
Like, I don't think it's even close.
They played for a title last year. Like the argument,
literally, and like you've been to the college football playoff. They've been like it's not even close. And this isn't biased, but like let's just take a look at a coach who thought that he needed to leave to go win a national championship. How's that working out in Baton Rouge? Like I'm just saying, like if that was the thought, and that's why you go down there, hasn't equated to an SEC championship, hasn't equated to a college football playoff berth. Maybe that changes this year, who knows? But not the way they look so far this season. So, like, I would sit there and say, Ohio State, if that job ever came open, obviously it's his alma mater. That's a program that obviously I have a ton of respect for, and it would make sense, right? Like, if a guy wants to go back to his alma mater to coach, I would never hold it against anyone. And then an NFL team, which, the Bears were sniffing around. Obviously, Kevin Warren loves Marcus. It makes sense. And he was, I'm sure, contacted or maybe interviewed. I don't know the extent of it, but before Ben Johnson was hired, and I know that was part of the conversation. So that would be the two moves that I think are likely. Outside of that, it's like, well, where are you going and why? Like, at this point, I feel like you're in a pretty good position to try to go play for a national championship, given you just did a year ago. And I feel like that was a team that was also like kind of limping to get there. Like there's a number of injuries that team had sustained to get to that point. And it feels like, even though you're going to lose guys like Jeremiah Love after this year, and there'll be some others, it's still a really young team. Like Leonard Moore's still going to be there, right? Like there's the receiving group, like there's a lot of guys who are younger still going to be there. So I don't think there's a job that even comes close right now outside of, Ohio State, if that was ever to be the case.
Stu, Brian Kelly at LSU, you know what they say?
The grass isn't always greener, Taylor.
Yeah. Bingo.
Well,
are you ready?
But obviously you went down there for something else, and I don't know what was offered, what wasn't offered, how that all went down. But
yes,
sometimes I would say this, maybe a life lesson. Sometimes it's not all about the money. If you want to have the success, sometimes I don't know.
All right, we're going to play Pretender or Contender with you. Taylor has some teams. He'll throw them out to you. We'll get you out of here. It'll be quick. By the way, I did always imagine when the Quins and the Hawks got together, they were playing football and not caring about their kids. That's what I imagined. Yes, right.
I mean, the kids are playing from time to time, but then usually someone eventually gets ragdolled and gets hurt, and it's kind of is what it is.
How's the Thanksgiving game? Chris Sims tells us stories about taking his family, the kids, everyone. Phil's out there. Big fucker, he calls them, Phil Sims. They're out in the backyard, and they are tearing each other's heads off. How's that game for you, right?
Yeah, I mean, again, we're always worried about getting hurt at this point. Like everyone's got knees or whatever else. Like I tore 2 ligaments in my ankle last year practicing soccer with my daughters. So I was like concerned. Like week 1, I can't remember even where we opened. I think we were in like West Virginia for Penn State, West Virginia, and I'm like limping around everywhere. I'm like I might need surgery the next week. So it's it's injury prevention for the adults, but the kids, it's like we've got an EMS on standby.
All right, go ahead, Taylor.
The first team up for Pretender or Contender. So this is if they could win a title, or a conference title, or a national title.
Okay.
Vanderbilt.
Ooh.
I'm going to say Contender.
Yes.
Love that.
I love what Clark Lee has built. I know Barton Simmons, he's a great evaluator of, I think, talent and fit there. And they've kind of got this mojo going where everyone's believing. Obviously, Diego is just a playmaker. He's special. But it's also like the entire piece and how they all fit together. So I'm going to say a Contender. I think we'll find out a lot more about them this week because that's a line that looks kind of funny to me. Like 2.5 at home. Big win last week. Like I know Mizzou can run the football well. We'll see what Bueller can do throwing. But I think they're Contender.
What about 7-0, the number 7 team in the country, Georgia Tech? Pretender or Contender?
Wow.
Well, they're gonna at least be playing for a conference championship because the rest of their schedule looks, I believe, pretty easy. I think the only team they have to get through. Have they played Duke yet?
Yes, they played Duke. Yeah.
They just beat Duke, right? So that was like their biggest hurdle, I think. So I'm gonna say Contender. It would probably be them and UVA, which I think is like the craziest thing now with the Miami loss because the UVA loss versus NC State didn't count as a conference game. It was a non-conference game, so they actually are still undefeated in conference play. So and then again, that's assuming UVA can survive. They don't have that much of a difficult schedule either. So I'm going to say a Contender, and like, how do you leave them out? Even if they're what would that be? 11-1 in that case,
yes.
Right?
Yep.
Or no, they'd be 12-1.
They'd be tough to leave out. You're right. Yeah.
Like last year, SMU got in as 11-2.
Yes. Right.
No, I made that case for UVA. If UVA makes it and they go 11-2, and their losses, let's say Georgia Tech, or let's say, Georgia Tech would be presumably, and then NC State. It's like, are you going to leave them out? It seems kind of hard given what you did last year with SMU, putting them in. And by the way, they would have played a tougher schedule than SMU did last year, so it'd be hard to leave them out. I know that was a tangent, so sorry.
No, I like the tangent. What about a team that is currently 3-1 in the Big Ten? That is the UCLA Bruins. Contender or Pretender?
No, look, they're a spoiler. They're a
spoiler.
They're the hottest team in the Big Ten, Brady.
That was a good pivot right there. Yes,
they are. And I will say this for your betting fans. I think they play this one close.
Wow.
Like, I love what Tim Skipper's done.
Wow.
I think Jerry Neuheisel, for a guy who's never called plays, in the past 3 weeks, they're averaging like 33 points a game now. They just all of a sudden, everything skyrocketed. They've got enough talent and ability, I think, to hang tough. Now, they can't waltz out there like Illinois and lay an egg, but this game, I think the number, to me, is way too big. I know IU's good, and in particular, they play really well at home, really well defensively at home. But there's some things you can't prepare for, and that's like Nico Iamaleava, like taking off running. We saw that versus Penn State. We saw that versus a number of teams. So I think they're a pretender, but I love what they're building with Tim Skipper. I hope he gets the job. I hope he gets to keep it.
I want to try, Taylor. I want to try.
Okay.
I want to play the game.
Okay.
I want to play the game. BYU. That's that's a
BYU national title.
right.
For national title, I would say a pretender. I think it's too soon. I'll be really curious to see how they match up this week. Right, they got to go to Ames. Ames favored in that one, by like 2.5, which is kind of interesting. So I think for the Big 12, I'd say a contender, obviously, but for a national championship, I think they're a pretender. Bear's a true freshman. We talked about. He's going to make some of those mistakes offensively. It feels like they need him to make some of these dazzling plays. Like he reminds me almost of like a little young kind of Tebow back there, the way he plays. But like that's not going to win you a national championship, I don't think.
All right.
The last one, and this is going to be national title too. They're 7-0 right now, the number 3 team in the country. Maybe the least talked about top 3 team in the country ever. Texas A&M, pretender or contender?
I think they're a contender. Now, look, I'm high on them because I watched them beat Notre Dame, and you can say it's controversial or they shouldn't have won, whatever. They won. But they've got all those components. Like they can create big plays with the speed on side of wide receiver. Marcel Reed is capable of hurting you with his legs. Their defense, we know how good Mike Elko is. He's one of the best defensive minds, and they've got a ton of talent. In particular off the edge too, they can rush. So they're kind of getting more into now the meat of the schedule, and we're going to find out a little bit more. But I think they're a contender because I think they can win in a variety of ways. And I think that's what you have to be if you want to be a national champion. You have to be able to win those ugly, tough, physical games, those high-scoring shootout games, and then kind of everywhere in between. It's one of the reasons why, like, I look at Ohio State, I'm just like, yeah, they kind of feel invincible right now with the way they're playing.
2 pros and a cup of Joe. Check it out every single morning. Fox Sports Radio alongside Lavar Arrington. How do you like doing mornings, man? Like I'm telling you, that shit will age you more than like being the president of the United States doing a morning show. I'm serious.
Yeah, but I've gotten in the habit of always getting up early just for my days playing college. Like,
yes.
We had to get up at 5 a.m. for workouts. So I've always been in that. I was that when I played. And as soon as I transitioned into broadcasting, like I never really stopped. Always been like an early morning person. So hasn't bothered me. It's been a ton of fun. Jonas is our other co-host that's on it. He kind of keeps everything in line as our host.
He's the cup of Joe, right? Yeah.
He's the cup of Jonas. But LeVar's wild. I mean, he's one of the funniest people that I've come encounter with, like working with, but then also outside of it. And he's just kind of an OG. He reminds me a lot, like the best man in my wedding is a buddy named Chindu Ndukwe. And they have so many similarities. Like as I've worked with LeVar that I've grown to see, that it feels comfortable for me. Like he feels like a brother to me in a way, or a big brother, because of like some of the common ground we've both like experienced.
Yeah.
But also just like his perspective and how he sees things. Like
he's great.
Yeah. We went to a funeral together. Jonas's mom passed away. And there were just some things that happened at that funeral that I will never forget. And I was so thankful LeVar was like standing right next to me because, again, like all respect to those who passed, but like just some wild, funny stuff that we've talked about on the show, but just
no one walks away from a funeral with laughs. I mean,
mostly you don't, but like I'll just put it as there was someone there who was in attendance who happened to be wearing like this big red thong, and it became very apparent to anyone who was behind them. And so as we're like got our sunglasses on and everything else, it was like a car accident. Like you couldn't, right next to the casket, like you could not see it. And I was just like, oh my gosh, this is so like uncomfortable, this situation. And it just, there's so many dynamics to that, but that was like the beginning of just how that kind of fell off the rails for us. But LeVar's a character, man. I love him. He's awesome.
He has an ability to find humor in just about anything. Listen, my mom passed away, and we spent the entire couple of shows 2 days afterwards while I was grieving. But we were talking about, it was during COVID, how funny it was for all of us to see a bunch of my mom's old friends trying to get on Zoom in the early stages, you know? I mean, you have to laugh a little bit. Yes.
Some people still haven't figured that out either. Like, I'm always shocked when people get on. And I'm just like, well, what are we doing here? This has been going on for years now.
All right, man. We appreciate the time. This has been a lot of fun. Continued success with the show. And Jess is right. She sent me a text. You have 5 kids. You're up early. So actually doing a morning show, Very heady play. Get the fuck out of the house, you know? Yes.
That's not what
I work in the house, but the reality is they're only up for like an hour, hour and a half of it. So it actually works out well. Like they're asleep for the majority of it. And then they get up. I'm like in between breaks, like getting ready for school, like high five and all that stuff. And then they're out the door. So it actually works out well because I have the entire afternoons to like basically be dad Uber to take them in sports and kind of coach them up and play and all that stuff.
It's awesome. It's awesome.
Yep.
We enjoyed
Thanks,
this,
guys.
man. Hope to do it again soon. Appreciate it. Continued success, man.
Thank you.
Stugotz here. It's NBA tip-off week, and FanDuel is your home for live betting. Listen, support the people that support this show, and no one has supported us more than our friends at FanDuel. So even if you missed the start of the game or want to ride the hot hand, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. However you want to play, now is the perfect time to join because FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. That's $300 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. So just visit FanDuel.com to sign up today. Play your game with FanDuel, official sports betting partner of the NBA.
Must be 21 and older and present in select states or 18 and older and present in D.C., Kentucky, or Wyoming. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets, which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit rg-help.com. Call 1-888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org/chat in Connecticut or visit mdgamblinghelp.org in Maryland. Hope is here. Visit gamblinghelplinema.org or call 800-327-5050 for 24/7 support in Massachusetts or call 1-877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY New York.